Alright guys, in this video I just wanted to show off some Anki decks that I made while I was learning Korean, and one that somebody else has made as well. So if you don't know what Anki is, it's a spaced repetition software that is basically flashcards that will allow you to see a word at specific intervals that increase. So all the algorithms are done for you, it's perfectly fine, but you can edit some settings. So before we start, I wanted to show you the settings that I've been using recently, well more recently, um, to get you started, because I think these settings are really good. I watched a video on YouTube and I basically stole the settings from a forgetting curve graph. So the settings to start with, new cards per day, that's completely up to you. But I'll tell you my suggestions as I go along. But the steps, so 15, 2,288, 2,880, 8,640. So those are steps in minutes. So the first one is 15, which doesn't, it's just there for the easy interval. So that one doesn't really matter. But this one is like 6 days, and then this one is like 7 days. So and then your graduating interval, which will be at the end of that, is 14 days. So at this point, once you hit the 14-day mark, you will basically have a graduated card, which you won't be able to reset back down. So the reason for having these steps specifically is so that you can expose yourself to the card, and then on the 14th day you can choose whether you know the card or you don't know the card. This way, you obviously you won't know a card the first time every single time, especially if you're using a pre-made deck like this. And then if you do know the card first time, completely know it, you can use this easy interval of 30 days. So if you completely know the card, you just press easy, and then you're done with that. And then reviews, you can set them to 9,999. You probably won't be anywhere near that if you stick to the recommended. This card retirement thing is actually a Migaku add-on, which I'll put in the description, so you can check it out, which lets you retire after so many days. Interval modifier 100%, easy bonus 120%. I wouldn't even worry about those, but if you want to copy those, copy those. I think the defaults are like really awkward, like 125% or something. And then maximum interval, that's completely irrelevant, especially if you have the card retirement. So then lapses, I have this as 2,880, which is 2 days. So if I don't know a card after it's graduated, it will go back down, and I'll see it again 2 days later, and then it will have the new interval 75% of whatever the interval was at the time of me pressing. Oh, I don't know. So then minimal interval 15 days, which is the lowest it'll ever go, which is just over the 14-day interval that we've set on the other one. And then general, that's just all irrelevant. Okay, so that's all the settings that you might want. And then the decks themselves. So the 500 words deck was made from a Talk to Me in Korean book. So if we see those cards now, so if we can go through these, you'll find that some of them seem to have similar meaning, or are like related. So these ones is because in the book there is like a story. So if you get the book, which is quite useful, it has like a story, and it uses all they're separated into 10 words, and it will use the 10 words in like a small story, which is quite handy. You can get that on Amazon for cheaper than what you would be able to with all the fees and whatnot. So that's pretty good. And then all of these, most of them have pictures, but not all of them, because some things are so hard to picture. It might be hard to see the picture because they're quite low down. But if I do the preview, so they've all got sound, and then that's the front, the sound and the word, and then the back is the English translation and a picture. So that even if it doesn't have a picture, you will always have the English translation. You may notice next to the words there is a Hanja. So these are actually the original characters, but this is the Korean pronunciation. So it helps to understand that early on, not all the words are like pure Korean words. Is that still on the screen? 1 second. Hopefully that's fixed it. Anyway, so if it's an English word like this, bus, the original word is bus in English. So I've just put that there, so you can see that some words aren't of Korean origin. So anything that doesn't have anything next to it is 100% Korean word. So here we go, shampoo. and 린츠, they are both Korean words, the English words, sorry. They are both English words, so I've put the English next to it, even though the translation is slightly different on this one. So that's that deck. That's probably the most simple deck that you can just use straight away, which is pretty good. And then the next one I would suggest using is this beginner grammar sentences, which is made from Korean grammar in use. For some reason I've closed that. But it's made from Korean grammar in use. So the deck is actually really good because it's, especially if you're just starting and you say you want to start Talk to Me in Korean, and then using this book, it's not going to show now, is it? So using this, it'll show up, you'll have the picture, and then you'll have the audio play, the audio will play and the picture will play, and then on the back the audio will play again, and then it will give you the sentence. So that's a really simple card, and the pictures are absolutely fantastic, especially these ones, look, ones where they're wearing, it's got all the locations. The pictures are really good for just understanding what's going on. So that's that deck, and that's made from Korean grammar in use beginner. And then these ones, the vocabulary deck, vocabulary sentences. These are just sentences, but they have audio. So the front is audio, and then the back is the sentence. The sentence plays. So you can, the sentence plays. You can see the sentence, and then the audio should play again. So you got the sentence, and then you'll notice that in the grammar ones and in the vocabulary one, so the grammar one will have the grammar highlighted, and then in the vocabulary, the word that you're actually supposed to be memorizing for this one will be highlighted in red, or a different, or it should be whatever color. You can actually change the color of that if you wanted to. In the card settings here, and then if you go on to the styling, this one here, it's not normally displayed like this, but you won't be able to see it actually. Yeah, so if you go onto this cards button here, you can go onto the styling and change the color. So that's the sentence decks, and then the grammar, intermediate grammar, and the intermediate vocabulary is basically the same thing, but they're made from Korean grammar in use intermediate, and Derek one's 2,000 words intermediate, and the beginner vocab was 2,000 words beginner. So these ones are the intermediate grammar ones. Most of them have a picture. I think, well, actually half of them have a picture, and then the other half are just the other sentences at the back, but these will be highlighted as well. So you can see this, got the audio on the front, and then on the back the highlighted grammar, so 얼마나, and then 뭔지 몰라요 is the grammar that we're looking at there. And then so what you want to do is, you want to do the beginner grammar sentences, beginner vocabulary, intermediate grammar, and then this intermediate vocabulary one, I would say is more optional, but it is a lot of words, so it takes a long time to do. So I don't know whether you would want to do it, but I personally did it and it wasn't too bad. So then after that, we've got the idioms, which is 관용 표현. So this one is slightly different because somebody else has made it, and it's pretty well laid out. I quite like it actually. And then you have the idiom, two sentences, well, two conversations that it's used in, and then on the back, literal translation, actual usage, and then just some information that was given. I believe this was a Talk to Me in Korean and Naver, what's it called? Collaboration. So they did that together. So that's the idiom deck, which is pretty useful, and a lot of them are like really common. Although there's a couple that probably don't show up like very often, but a lot of them are quite common, and it's really hard to just understand it because they don't really make any sense. Like, we have a lot of idioms in English as well, I'm sure you know. So then after that we have the Hanja deck. Yep, the Hanja deck, which is, I made this more recently because I found a book that had, it was 8 books of Hanja aimed at Korean, not so much children, but Koreans in general. And they come with the Hanja, the word, and the sound, and then a picture describing which part of the Hanja is the sound and the meaning. Although I think there's one or two that they've done it wrong. But then you get a nice picture of it as well, and a lot of the time it does show a bit of description of it because it's related to the Hanja itself. So that's pretty good. And then you get some example words at the bottom which they've give you, even though it doesn't cover like half the word. It's just usually 2 words or 3 words, which doesn't really cover everything that you'll need to know. But I'm sure that by the time that you get to this, you would know most of the words anyway, and then you would know words that related to it. So then, what you want to be doing while you're doing all this, you want to be making your own picture deck of words. So whenever you come across a word and you can picture it and you can type it in on Google or Naver and you can find a picture for it, you want to be adding that to your own deck, like GIFs and pictures. Like these are fantastic, like really absolutely fantastic, especially for like advanced learners when it's just a word that you don't know, and then it's hard to you don't really come across it, but you just like everyday words that Koreans know, and you can just picture them. Like household items, like probably don't come up that much depending on what you're watching or what you're listening to. So it's a really easy way to remember things like that. And then on the like after you've done all this, there is the option of, well, not after, but you can use this instead. So there is Subs2SRS, which will allow you to get whole series and take them down just to the audio and the sorry. So might have blown your ears off. So you get the audio and the subtitle files which you need to make it, but this works best with another program called Morphman. I'm sure there's plenty of videos out there. If you search Subs2SRS and Morphman, you'll be able to find tons of videos about how to use it and stuff like that. It's pretty handy, but personally, I just don't like it because of the amount of effort and the amount of setup that it needs to actually work effectively. There are some decks around that you can, so you don't need to make your own. They're already made, and then you just put them in, and then but you still need Morphman because a lot of the sentences will just be the same word over and over and over again, especially if it's someone's name. It will just be the same word over and over. So you need Morphman to conjugate it and get the words that you already know, and it'll put those aside. So that's really good as well. And yeah, that's about it for Anki. That's everything really. There's not much else to say other than the order. So the order of 500 words: beginner grammar, beginner vocabulary, intermediate grammar, intermediate vocabulary, and then everything else is pretty much optional. And then what I would do is for the 500 words, because they're just pictures and words, I would just do those as 25 new words a day, which is relatively easy. So just 25 new words. And then when you get to the sentences, I would just drop that down to 15 or 10 new words or new sentences, because going through the sentences takes a lot longer, like much more long. And then when it grows, when your reviews are like 100 reviews or whatever, I don't know if it'll get that high. I can't actually remember, but so when you've got like 100 reviews, it gets really tiring. But in the end of the day, Anki is just a supplement. Like you just use it. What I do is I use it on my phone in the morning. So I go onto Anki Web. I already have it bookmarked. Go onto Anki Web and I just do all my reviews on my phone, and then I'm done, and then I can go. And then what I would suggest is using Anki Web, just the website. You don't need any apps, and then you use that to do your reviews. And then anytime you need to add anything, or you need to like edit any words or whatever, or you want to well, actually it depends if you have add-ons, but personally I don't really use any add-ons, so it's a lot easier for me to just edit everything on the computer app and then rep everything on the phone. Whereas if you have add-ons, the website doesn't like register those, so you would just be missing out on certain features. So that's about everything for Anki. These are probably some of the best Korean decks. Slightly better than Avita's because they're more structured and they're made from structured content as well, which I would say if you want to support the creators of those content, I would definitely suggest buying them. I've left links in the description, so if you want to support that, you can. And that's about everything. Thanks.